You were laying in the hospital bed, body aching not just from the physical pain, but from the emotional devastation of what had just happened. You have just lost your baby, a loss that shattered your heart into pieces. Your husband was standing by your side, but his mind was somewhere else. He had been checking his phone repeatedly, and every time it buzzed, he became more anxious. Suho, please stay with me. I need you. But before you could even reach for his hand, his phone rang again. You saw the name on the screen, Hannah, his ex-girlfriend. Your heart shattered completely. You looked at him in disbelief. How can he even think about his ex-girlfriend when he has lost a child? Suho looked at you with almost a guilty expression. Ryan, I have to take this. I'll be back in a few minutes. You couldn't believe he was leaving his own wife, who just has a miscarriage, to attend the call from his ex-girlfriend. You didn't say anything, your hand clenched. He walked away from the room, your heart broke as you watched him leave, knowing deep down that he was choosing Hannah over you in the most vulnerable moment of your life. You lay back, tears streaming down your face, overwhelmed by grief. The miscarriage had already left you feeling empty, but Suho's actions tore at whatever was left of your spirit. You couldn't understand how he could just leave you like that, especially now. I wish I could go back in time and refuse to choose you. It was the biggest mistake of my life. Closing your eyes, you started to cry because it was too much to hold inside. Days passed and you tried to heal both physically and emotionally. You stopped caring about everything else. You don't even want to look at him. But Suho's neglect only deepened the wounds. He would come home late, barely speaking to you, his mind clearly preoccupied. Every time you saw him, the pain in your chest intensified. You have never felt so alone and abandoned. Suho seems to not care about you even a bit. Slowly you started to become depressed and no one was there to heal you. Exactly 1 week after Suho had left you for Hannah's call, you found yourself driving through the city. Your mind was a swirl of pain and confusion. You hadn't been able to eat or sleep properly since the miscarriage, and your thoughts were consumed with Suho's betrayal. You decided to leave him, to set him free so that he can go back to his ex, who is more important to him than you and your unborn baby that you lost not long ago. You decided to give him divorce, and that's why you were going to meet your lawyer. You replayed that moment over and over, the way he left you when you needed him most. Tears blurred your vision as you tried to navigate through the traffic. Your heart was heavy, each beat echoing with a sense of loss and abandonment. How could he even do this to you? How could he not care? Suddenly, a car sped through a red light, heading straight for you. Your mind barely registered what was happening as the world around you seemed to slow down. The sound of screeching tires, the impact of metal against metal. And then darkness consumed you. When you woke up, everything felt disorienting. The beeping sound of machines surrounded you, the smell of antiseptic filling your senses. As you opened your eyes, the world around you came into focus, and the first thing you saw was a man standing by your bed. His dark hair fell slightly over his forehead, framing a face that was both striking and calm. His deep brown eyes, filled with concern, locked onto yours, holding a gentle intensity that instantly drew you in. He wore a white coat that identified him as a doctor, but it was the kindness in his gaze and the quiet strength in his presence that made you feel safe. For a moment, you simply stared at him, feeling an inexplicable sense of trust and warmth, even though you had never seen him before. You are awake. How do you feel? He asked softly, but you try to remember what happened. Where are you? I don't know. Where am I? You were in an accident. You have been unconscious for a couple of days, but you're safe now. You're in the hospital. His voice was so calm and soothing as he explained to you. Accident? I was in an accident? You tried to remember everything and a flash of memories crossed your mind, your crying face, but there was no hint of your past. You couldn't remember more. It felt so suffocating, but then Jungkook placed a hand on top of yours. You looked at him. I don't remember anything. This made Jungkook a little concerned. Don't worry, you don't have to put pressure on your mind. It would take you some time to remember everything. But for now, all you need is to rest and heal. You nodded and Jungkook left the room. There was a strange emptiness inside you, like you were missing something important, but no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't remember what it was. The world around you felt strange and unfamiliar. Everything was foggy, like a dream you couldn't quite grasp. The doctor had told you that you had been in an accident, but they didn't say much else, just that you needed to rest and heal. You stared out from the window when the door burst open and a man you didn't recognize rushed in. You stared out from the window when the door burst open and a man you didn't recognize rushed in. He looked disheveled, his eyes red rimmed as if he had been crying. Wyan, the man called out, his voice trembling with a mix of relief and desperation. Oh my god, Wyan, you're awake. You turned to look at him, your brow furrowing in confusion. Who are you? You asked while your voice hesitant, as if you were trying to place his face but couldn't. He froze, his face paling as if the ground had just been pulled out from under him. Wyan, it's me, Suho. I'm your husband. You blinked, the word husband echoed in your mind. You searched your memories, but there was nothing. No image of this man, no feelings of familiarity. It was as if you were staring at a stranger. I'm sorry, I don't recognize you. Suho's breath hitched and he took a step closer, his eyes pleading. No, Ian, please. You have to remember. We have been married for years. We lived together. We were going to have a baby. His voice broke on the last word and he swallowed hard, trying to keep his emotions in check. Please, Wyan, try to remember. We were so happy. You shook your head. A wave of panic washed over you as you tried to grasp at the memories that weren't there. I don't know you. I don't remember any of this. Suho's face crumpled and tears began to spill down his cheeks. He reached out as if to touch you but hesitated, his hand hovering in the air. Wyan, I'm begging you. Please just remember. I can't lose you like this, not after everything. By the time Jungkook also came there, and for some reason you felt relieved by his presence. Although he was standing at the door, you looked at Jungkook, your eyes wide with confusion and fear. He says he's my husband, but I don't remember him. I don't remember anything. Suho looked at Jungkook as well. After a short silence, Jungkook walked in and stood near. It's okay, Wyan. You have been through a lot. Sometimes after a traumatic event, the mind can block out certain memories to protect itself. You don't need to force anything right now. But she needs to remember I'm her husband. How can she not remember me? This can't be happening. Jungkook turned to Suho. His expression was sympathetic but firm. I understand how difficult this is for you, but pressuring her won't help. Wyan needs time to heal both physically and mentally. Right now, she doesn't recognize you, and forcing her to remember could do more harm than good. Suho shook his head. Tears flowed freely from his eyes. But she is my wife. How can I just leave her like this? She's everything to me. Jungkook's gaze softened as he saw the pain in Suho's eyes. I know this is hard, but you need to give her space. Let her recover without the added pressure. If her memories come back, they'll do so on their own. If not, you have to be prepared for that too. Suho's shoulders slumped as the weight of Jungkook's words sank in. He looked at you and his heart breaking all over again as you stared back at him with no recognition in your eyes. He walked near you and took your hand in his. I know you're mad at me. I broke your heart. I deserve punishment, but don't give me such hard punishment, Wyan. I've realized my mistake and I will never repeat that again. You looked at Jungkook. You have no idea what he was talking about. That day, Hannah called me because she was leaving for abroad and she wanted to introduce me to her fiance. When I saw them together, I realized that you were the only one who even ever truly loved me. But now I've lost you too. You watched him as your heart ached with a strange sadness you couldn't quite understand. His words touched something deep inside you, but the connection to him was still lost. I'm sorry, I wish I could remember, but I can't. There were tears in your eyes as you pulled back your hands. It's best if you leave now, Suho. Why needs rest. Maybe with time things will change, but for now you need to let her recover. Suho nodded numbly, wiping away his tears as he turned to leave. He paused at the door looking back at you one last time, hoping for even a glimmer of recognition, but there were none. As the door closed behind Suho, you let out a shaky breath. Your emotions swirled inside you. Jungkook stayed by your side. His presence was comforting. But he didn't ignore Suho's words. He knew your past holds some mysteries, but he flashed a warm smile at you when your eyes met. I felt strange. Jungkook walked near you and held your hands in his gently. His touch made all the chaos and tension that built inside you when Suho was there to disappear slowly. You're safe now. Focus on healing. We'll take it one step at a time. You nodded, feeling a sense of peace return as you looked into Jungkook's eyes. He was the only one who made you feel safe, the only one who seemed to truly care about your well-being. And as you lay back down, you couldn't help but to feel that maybe, just maybe, you were exactly where you were meant to be. As the days passed, the sterile walls of the hospital room became a familiar backdrop to your growing connection with Jungkook. What began as routine check-ins and medical care gradually turned into something more, something neither of you could quite put. Jungkook was always there, his presence steady and comforting. He would sit by your bed and talk to you not just about your health, but about little things, books he thought you might like, stories from his life, and moments of quiet humor that made you smile even when you felt like you couldn't. His voice was very calm, soothing the unease that often creep into your thoughts. There were times when you caught him looking at you with a softness in his eyes that made your heart flutter. He'd quickly looked away, focusing on adjusting your IV or checking your charts, but you couldn't ignore the warmth that bloomed in your chest whenever he was near. It wasn't just the way he cared for you as a patient, it was the way he listened, the way he noticed the smallest details about you, like how you like your pillows arranged, or the way you crinkled your nose when you were lost in thoughts. Jungkook seemed to understand you in ways that went beyond his role. He knew when you needed to talk and when you needed silence. He'd bring you a cup of tea just the way you like it, or a new book to help pass the time. Every gesture, every word was filled with thoughtfulness that made you feel seen and valued. Jungkook entered your room, but he got worried when he noticed the worry etched on your face. Your eyes were red and swollen, as if you had been crying, and a deep crease of concern formed between his brows. He knew Soho had visited earlier, and the thought that something might have happened during the visit made his heart clench. He approached you carefully. "Vian, what happened? Did Soho say something to upset you?" he asked softly. You looked at him and your heart clenched even more. "Jungkook, I remember everything now." His heart skipped a beat, a sense of dread settling in his chest. He sat down beside you, his eyes never leaving yours as you continued. "But I wish I didn't. There's nothing in those memories that I can be happy about. I remember Suho leaving me in the hospital right after I had a miscarriage. I was broken and he just walked away, choosing his ex over me. I was lying there, alone and scared, and he didn't even care." Jungkook's jaws tightened, a surge of anger and sadness washing over him as he listened to you. He had known what Soho had done, had heard the whispers in the hospital, but hearing it from you, seeing the pain it caused you, made it all the more unbearable. You looked down at your hands, your fingers were trembling slightly. "Before the accident, I was going to see my lawyer about divorce papers. I couldn't stay in that marriage. I couldn't stay with someone who didn't value me, who didn't love me the way I deserved to be loved. But then the accident happened and everything changed. Jungkook gently placed his hand over yours, offering you the comfort you so desperately needed. His touch was warm, grounding you in the moment as you tried to gather your thoughts. I told Suho everything today. I told him I remember and that I want a divorce. I don't want to go back to that life, to those memories. I wish I could forget it all again. But maybe this is how things were meant to be. Maybe this is a second chance for me, a chance to start over. Jungkook's eyes softened as he looked at you, his heart aching for the pain you had endured, but also filled with admiration for your strength. You deserve to be happy. You deserve to start over, to live a life where you are valued and loved. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start over, and I'm not looking back. He pulled you into a gentle hug that he knew you needed at this time, even though there's no denial in that he has fallen for you, but he decided to keep quiet for now. He doesn't want to hold you back from chasing what you want. You have every right to chase your happiness, but remember, I will always be with you no matter what. He pulled back and looked at you, not as a doctor, but also as a good friend. I will help in every possible way that I can. What feels like a decade, a smile appeared on your lips. Jungkook's heart melted. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much strength you have given me. You have already become the most important person in my life. After you were discharged from the hospital, your life took a completely new direction. The divorce from Suho was finalized quickly, and though it was tough, it felt like a weight had been lifted off your shoulders. You had spent too many years in a marriage that brought you more pain than happiness, and finally walking away from it felt like getting your life back. Jungkook was there for you through it all. He had been your doctor, but now he was much more than that. He checked on you often, making sure you were okay, whether it was bringing you groceries, helping you settle into your new place, or just sitting with you on days when you felt low. Jungkook was always around, and his presence was a constant source of comfort. As you started to build a new life, you focused on things that made you feel peaceful: long walks, reading, and picking up hobbies you had forgotten about. Jungkook joined you in these activities, and together you created a life that was full of simple joys and quiet moments of connection. Slowly, your friendship with Jungkook grew into something deeper. He was kind, thoughtful, and always knew what you needed. But more than that, he saw you for who you truly were. He appreciated your strength and never made you feel like you were anything less than you deserved. Jungkook and you were sitting on the couch while sipping evening coffee that you prepared as he came to visit you. His visits are often as if he lives here, and to be honest, you like his company and you feel happy that he's always here for you. The room was quiet, but there was an unspoken tension in the air, a sense that something important was about to be said. Jungkook looked at you, his eyes soft and full of emotion. You have come so far. I'm really proud of you. You smiled, feeling a warmth spread through your chest. I couldn't have done it without you, Jungkook. You have been there for me in ways I never expected. He took your hand in his, and like always, you felt butterflies in your stomach. His touch is always a comforting one. I want you to know that I'll always be here for you. I care about you a lot more than I've ever been able to say. There's something I've been meaning to tell you. He started, his voice steady but with an underlying nervousness that made your heart beat a little faster. You looked at him, waiting, sensing that whatever he was about to say was something that would change everything. You know, when I first met you, you were in so much pain. I saw it in your eyes, in the way you carried yourself, but even then there was something about you that drew me in. You were hurting, but you were still so strong, so full of life. Despite everything, I couldn't help but to admire that. He paused, taking a deep breath as if gathering his thoughts. At first, I thought it was just me wanting to help you, to be there for you because you deserve someone who actually cared. But somewhere along the way, it became more than that. I started looking forward to every moment I spent with you. You smiled, You laugh, the way you light up when you talk about the things you love. Your heart pounded in your chest as you waited for him to continue. Your breath caught in your throat. I'm in love with you. Not just because of what you have been through, but because of who you are. You make me want to be better, to do better because I want to be the man who deserves to stand by your side. You have brought so much light into my life and I can't imagine a day without you in it. Tears filled in your eyes, but you didn't look away. Every word he spoke wrapped around your heart, filling you with a warmth you hadn't felt in years. I know you have been through so much, he continued, his thumb gently brushing away a tear that had escaped down your cheek. And I don't want to rush anything, but I want you to know that I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I want to build something real with you, something that lasts. If you'll have me, I want to be the one who stands by you, who supports you and who loves you for as long as you let me. You let out a shaky breath, overwhelmed by the sincerity in his words. Jungkook, I've been so afraid to let myself love again, to trust that someone could truly care about me, but you have shown me what love really is. You have been my strength, my hope, and now I realize you have become my heart. He smiled, a look of pure happiness on his face, as he gently took your hand in his. Then let's take this step together. No rush, no pressure, just us finding our way one day at a time. You nodded, a sense of peace settled over you as you looked into his eyes. I love you, Jungkook, and I want to build that life with you, too. Something real, something lasting. Jungkook leaned in, pressing his forehead against yours, his breath warm against your skin. Then that's exactly what we'll do together. I promise I'll never let you experience any moment of sadness. I love you, Ryan. He gently kissed you, sealing the promise between you. You felt that this was only the beginning of a beautiful new chapter in both of your lives.